If you're not using this card, you're making a huge mistake. At least that's what everyone tells me. So let's take a look at Voltempest. All right, I'm super pumped about this game and I'm super pumped about this deck. So I'm gonna do a quick breakdown on it, tell you everything that goes down, and then show you guys some really epic gameplay. And I think you guys are gonna really enjoy it. So like the video and subscribe if you guys are new, and let me know what deck you wanna see next on the channel. So this deck originally was built to be a hand control deck. I used to play some competitive TCGs, and that was a strategy that I like to kind of use, is hand destruction. It's really cool. You kind of pick things off to limit your opponent's resources and give yourself the advantage in gameplay. So I started this off building around Lycavolt. Lycavolt has a power buff if Amp Up is in your underworld, and when you destroy something in battle, you can actually pick something off the hand from your opponent. So it can be really powerful. Kind of functions like Zephrog a little bit, but it's a little stronger, but it doesn't have the direct attack. So I thought that this would be a fun strategy to utilize. So we start the deck with Amp Up, and then we've got our two Lycavolts. From there, you've got to have Spark It. Spark It naturally picks off cards from hand, so if you can pair Spark It and Zeus together, you put yourself in a really advantageous position. Then we've got what I consider to be the best card in the game, Astrabbit. We've got 3 of those, and when they receive spirits, they can activate their look effect and just be incredible. Then we've got Jolton, 2 of those to search out the stadium. I'm only running 1 stadium. Some of the ratios in this deck are a little funny, but I'm kind of testing some things out. So we've got the 2 Joltons for 1 stadium, 2 Elechiks for 2 Zeus, and then I've got 2 Quackle for recovery. I really like Quackle in the context of this deck, and I'll explain why in a minute. I splashed in a Voltempest as well because I was already running Thunder and Wind, and I said, you know what, that could be a cool late game win con. For those who don't know, Voltempest is considered one of the best decks right now, if not the best deck, because once you get it onto the field with Zeus, if you just simply put it into defense position and then use your 1 spirit per turn to activate Voltempest's effect to hit your opponent for 3 damage, generally there's not a whole lot they can do about that. They have to remove the Zeus before they can target the Voltempest, and because that's usually pretty challenging for most players, Voltempest can kind of wreak havoc and just kind of stall out to the end of the game. We've got a lot of rune control, 3 thunderstorms, 3 tornadoes. The idea behind this is you can use tornado to bounce things back to the hand and then use Spark It or Lycavolt to pick them off. And then our rune package is pretty extensive with shields and PTAs. We've got a Gorgon's Gaze splashed in there, 1 Ambrosia because I'm running 2 Quackles. And then we've got 2 Golden Apple of Discord, which is going to allow us to kind of go after our opponent's hand again, especially if we draw into Amp Up. And then I'm actually running 2 Rise from the Ashes, which may be a little surprising. This is a card that I think could be really valuable with Golden Apple of Discord, so you add that layer of depth to the deck. But also you can utilize it on Quackle to essentially regain those spirits back and then allow you the opportunity to ascend or give yourself some Nexus fodder because you're paying 3 for Rise, but if you Rise Quackle, you get 3 back. So it could be a really effective strategy. Without further ado, let's dive into the gameplay. All right, surprise, surprise, we're playing Wirtz again. It just so happens that Wirtz and I play a lot, but I do play other people too. So I'm excited about this one. I know Wirtz always brings the fun, and I look at my hand and I'm like, this is not a good hand. 2 Tornadoes, a PTA, a Quackle, and a Golden Apple doesn't give me a whole lot of room to move, but they're gonna just cast Foamy into defense, and I draw into a shield, and I'm like, okay, well, I have a good rune package right now, which is good, but I don't really have a whole lot else. I don't want to cast Quackle right now because I basically burn its effect. So I'm gonna expend a draw, and I get a Lycavolt, and I'm like, all right, that's probably not gonna do anything for me. Again, I have a really good rune package, so I feel good about that. So I'm just gonna throw down, you know, my 2 runes, and I'll just pass. And I think at this point, Wirtz has got to be feeling pretty good. He knows he has Foamy. He knows he has the control. He can start to ramp his water deck up. You know, I've actually played this deck before, so I had a general idea of what he was trying to do, and he's gonna throw down another Foamy. And I choose to just let it be because as much as I could PTA it, I kind of want to see what he's going to do. So he actually expends 2 to get out 2 Tadpuffs. So he now has a full board on turn 2 with a bunch of baby attackers. And he's going to just hit me for 4, and I'm just going to take it because I'm like, you know what? I have Quackle. It's not the end of the world. I can get some of this back. I can put on some pressure, and I can essentially nullify this big advantage he has right now. So I'm going to draw into another shield, and I'm like, all right, listen, I've got the back row for the whole game. And for some reason, my brain was telling me that I had Rise in my hand, and I didn't. I was thinking I was about to make a huge play with Rise from the Ashes and Lycavolt, and I didn't even have Rise in my hand, so not quite sure what happened there, but I am going to be able to pick off a card from his hand, and it turned out to be Globby, which was big, because if I don't pick Globby off there, that means my opponent is getting Majesty onto the field in the next turn. I get rid of a shield and a Gorgons on the second part of Golden Apple, and I'm like, yo, this is actually going pretty well. And I look, okay, Tadpuff only has 1 attack. My Quackle can come in, and it can actually put in some work. So I get Quackle out. I get to regen 3 spirits, which is really clutch, because again, I'm right back in the game. In fact, you could argue that I'm ahead in some ways. and I can just set my other shield down in case I need it. And then I'm just gonna take out a Tadpup, and I'm gonna try to equalize this, you know, kind of, you know, playing field. My opponent obviously has the 2 foamies, which they can crash into Quackle, and they can get out something else, float into another water Elestral, which is definitely a bit sketchy, but I think, you know what, I think I can make this work. They're actually going to expend a draw, because I picked off that Globby again, really clutch that we were able to get rid of that. And they're just gonna set a couple back row here. And then my opponent is gonna try to crash their foamy into my Quackle. And I say, no, I'm gonna make a really bold play here. I'm actually going to double shield those foamies, which again, I know is a little bonkers, especially the context that we are in the game. But I kind of have an idea of what deck he's trying to run, and I recognize that Wirtz is trying to utilize Trident of Poseidon and Poseidon to ramp up a Majesty and ultimately make it so I cannot play counter runes. So I know that is what his objective is. So to me, utilizing my counter runes now just makes the most sense, because again, I feel like they're going to be invalidated as soon as that, you know, the Poseidon and the Trident hit the field. Obviously I have tornadoes and stuff, but I kind of figured that that was my best play. So now I'm in a situation where I actually draw an aDrive, one of the best things I could possibly draw. It's a beautiful thing. I get to play my rabbit down. I get a free look at the top 3. I can grab Olympus, I can grab my 3rd tornado. I say, you know what, this is obvious. I end up revealing. You don't have to reveal, but it didn't matter because I was gonna play it right away. And I'm just gonna play my Nectar of the Gods and get 2 more draws. So really good advantage out of this aDrive. And I draw into Elechick, which gets me my Zeus, and I draw into PTA, which gives me a little bit more back row support. I decide to keep my aDrive in defense as opposed to going offensive here, just because I know that with 5 defense, it's gonna force Mustation to have to expend to even attack, and I can get around that pretty easily. So, well, I guess I can't get around it pretty easily, but it at least force him to expend rather than me trying to hit him. So he's gonna go foamy this time and then cast Hephaestus. I'm pretty sure I responded. Did I respond with PTA? I'm not sure if I did. No, I don't think I did. I think I just left it. So he goes Hephaestus. That allows him to search out a rune pretty much automatically. So I think he grabs Trident here. And I say, okay, like I know he's got the Trident, he's got this foamy, he can run his foamy into my Quackle, and that could be a bit tricky, but it's not the end of the world. I lose Quackle, he loses foamy, and then he's in a situation where he can bring out whatever's next. So let's see what that next is gonna be. Luckily for me, we are in battle phase, so I have a little bit of room to work with. It's gonna be the Aepharos, and I say, you know what? I don't even wanna deal with this thing. Let's just PTA this now. I know it's not an offensive threat. Let's just PTA, and that's gonna clear the Aepharos. So I have to get rid of 1 more spirit to do that, and we're in a pretty good spot. I say, you know what, this is all good. Let's clear this. Let's get rid of the, you know, the Aepharos and just continue to maintain field advantage, especially knowing that at any moment my opponent could very easily bust out that Trident plus Poseidon and really put in some work. So I'm gonna be able to search out my Zeus here. I feel really good about that. That gives me the protection I'm looking for Voltempest, which I just drew into. And I'm gonna set a Tornado face down as a bluff, and then I'm just gonna go for an attack here with Elechick and see if there's a response. Generally, you'll see things like Tsunami played at this point in time, and that's exactly what Wirtz is gonna do. So I kind of have an understanding of what his counter rune package is now. Generally, Water's always gonna run Tsunami, and then we saw the Gorgons and the Shield, so I have a good idea of what to expect now. He's gonna just cast something face down, or set something face down rather, and then he goes back into his Foamy with the objective of taking out my Elechick, and I think I actually respond PTA. I do. I decide, you know what, Foamy can actually KO Elechick, so if I drop his attack by 2, I prevent him from doing that, and he actually goes for his Bag of Winds play. No big deal there, and he can't do anything, and I can get rid of his Foamy. So again, I continue to manage the resources, my counter runes very effectively that I've drawn into, putting him in a situation where he simply like is unable to even attack or really do a whole lot, or gain any sort of offensive momentum. So, but I'm running really low on spirits, and I'm gonna go offensive here with the aDrive. I'm gonna look at the top 3. I see Spark It, but I grab the Ambrosia. I say, you know what, I actually really need this Ambrosia. We're running a little too low. Spark It's great, but I don't even have the spirits to make that work. Let's play our 1 Ambrosia right now. Let's get some spirits back. I'll just play this. I want to keep my 2 wins because I may need those for my tornadoes for a big play later. This will give me my opportunity to grab some spirits back, and I have, you know, 5 spirits again. I have 3 Elestrals on the field, and now it's time for me to go aggro. And I say, okay, I'm just gonna attack. Worst case scenario, he's going to, you know, Tsunami me, right? And that's, if he wants to burn a Tsunami now, that's fine, because that just gives me a better chance in the next turn. There is the Tsunami, exactly what we were expecting. So we are gonna lose, you know, we're gonna lose our rabbits and our Elechick attack. So he essentially saves himself on 2 points, but again, I'm clearing his back row. That's one less thing I have to tornado later. and I can, you know, hopefully get some momentum. So here comes Mistation, and here comes the Poseidon, and here comes the Trident of Poseidon, and now I can no longer attack when cards are, you know, I can no longer do anything here to the, you know, with counter runes. Not an issue though, I don't really have any counter runes, so, you know, he's able to pick me off there, and he's got his Mistation with 3 attack and, you know, some support on the field. And I say, you know what, he's got 2 spirits left, I'm pretty sure I just win this. We're just gonna Tornado back his face down. He told me after the fact that that was Gorgon's Gaze, so that was actually a real response to what he can do here. And I'm gonna combine the spirits on my Astrabbits, and then I'm going to ascend into Voltempest with a Wind Spirit. It's gonna hit the field, and then all I have to do is disenchant my Voltempest, which is going to activate his effect. I end up casting Zeus just for the memes, because I'm like, hey, I really got this. And then I end up disenchanting off Voltempest. That's gonna hit him directly for 3. He only has 2 left, and thus we seal the deal and win the game with what many are saying is the best card in the game, Voltempest, or at least the best deck in the game. I think Astrabbit's the best card in the game, but that was a good game against Words. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing this little bit of a hand destruction deck and a really nice counter rune package to kind of deal with all the things that Words was trying to do. Don't forget, turn 2, he had 4 Elestrals on field, all staring me down and hit me for 4 directly, but we were able to pick off the crucial Globby from his hand and then strategically utilize our runes, buying just enough time with Astrabbit to get Voltempest to the field and deal the final blow, all while hanging in the game ever so slightly with our Ambrosia and our Quackle. Thanks for watching, guys. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.